Barry Byrne of the Irish Defence Forces, thanks for joining Blue Notes.
Thank you.
You recently led a program to raise the bar on information and knowledge management and enterprise social in your organisation. Now, banking and defence are quite different industries, but what we have in common is that digital's really mixing things up for both of us.
Yeah.
So how did this environment lead you to think differently about information and knowledge management and enterprise social at the Irish Defence Forces?
Yeah, I suppose the explosion of the amount of information that's out there in the world and the lack of recognition of the value of knowledge and differentiation from information was a big concern for us. It has immediate impacts in the banking sector, in the defence sector. I mean, it can have life and death scenario implications. So for us, once we got the traction with senior leadership that we needed to go down this journey, it was a case of taking cognizance of what's out there, looking at what's available, looking at the scope of the growth of things, and then seeing how we could implement that.
I mean, ANZ's experience introducing an enterprise social network, was no different really. It's shaking up how we collaborate, how content's produced, and how it's distributed, and most importantly, it's really giving a voice to people in the organisation who are often, not particularly senior. It's allowing their voices to be heard in the organisation. It's been a real breath of fresh air, I think, for us.
One of the really, tangible examples of how it's flattened our traditionally hierarchical organisation, I suppose, is the fact that we don't have rank in front of our name when we're communicating on the platform, and that means that you have this communication between traditionally very segmented elements of our organisation. We could have a very senior general communicating with someone much further down the rank structure about various different topics, and again, communities of interest and communities of practice can engage and conversations flow more freely with the use of hashtagging, following different people, following different groups. It's been transformational.
Of course, we're both dealing with the introduction of new technologies, but we know that the reality is that the tools are not the main game, and it's actually getting people into a collaborative headspace that's the important part here. And how did you go about encouraging a more collaborative mindset at the Defence Forces?
Sure. So, one of the things we try to bring about is a recognition and understanding of this shift that's happening in the defence community away from need to know and an emphasis towards responsibility to share. And that's something that if the defence world can move in that direction, it's something that the civilian world and the banking sector can move towards as well, as this emphasis on responsibility to share. And in some commercial sectors they call it working out loud or collaboration, but the sense that anything you're working on, you have a responsibility to your colleagues and to the organisation to share that knowledge and try and turn the old paradigm of knowledge is power and hoarding of knowledge is power on its head, and try and show and tangibly show how collaboration and sharing can be just as powerful.
We knew that at ANZ to build a deep transformative change that we needed to focus our energy in 4 areas. So we concentrated on helping leaders be role models. So through their use of our enterprise social network, they made it okay for their people to do the same. We focused on building communities that had very clear business objectives and a strong kind of pull for people in terms of what's in it for me, to encourage them to use it. We also built a network of champions as well. We had several hundred people who were our arms and legs on the ground to help others build confidence in using our tool. And we've also had a great program of education and training in place for general users. And I think in a very short period of time, focusing in those 4 areas has really helped our enterprise social network gain traction. I'm sure it wasn't all smooth sailing though, and you encountered some roadblocks along the way. So what were the biggest challenges you faced? Yeah,
absolutely. Privacy concerns are massive in any sector, banking, military. So the convincing end users and the viability of what you're proposing and the reliability of your privacy/security implementations was key.
At ANZ, one of the biggest challenges we faced were a number of resistors who really did think that this was yet another tool to be managed and would be an unproductive waste of time. And there really was no easy way to address their concerns other than to sit down with them and really work through each of the sort of roadblocks, I guess. So it required a lot of conversations and a lot of face time with people to address their concerns. And it really did help people overcome their anxiety. Barry Byrne of the Irish Defence Forces, thanks for taking the time to talk to Blue Notes.
Thank you.